evening, and I think it's indeed my pleasure to be amongst the a special group of entrepreneurs this evening, and there's a very special venue, Bharat Mandapam. This venue has changed the way we host events in the country, isn't it? So I'm sure when you came in, you could have soaked in the view of the night view of Bharat Mandapam, which is very special. And again, it's my pleasure to be here amongst you all. And thank you so much, the Entrepreneur India team, Sachin, and for having me this evening and share my few thoughts with you and kind of also learn from the wonderful entrepreneurs you here and of course celebrate your success through the entrepreneur awards, which is going to be kind of given out, and really appreciate the fact that you have a EY who is also a very trustworthy partner who has been partnered to kind of do the whole process. So when I was looking at this evening and say, what do I really share? I think I always share three important things. As the lady who said that, India is now the startup capital of the world, is becoming one of the fastest growing startup ecosystem in the world. Numbers have crossed 2 lakhs plus, and more importantly, it's also the most important part is a significant amount of the startups are coming from tier 2, tier 3 cities. That's very important. For almost 40% of the Indian startups are coming in from tier 2 and tier 3 cities, and almost about 40% of the startups are also having women founders. I think that's a very important element for us, and we want to now strengthen it further and ensure that there is adequate support. And there is, in fact, if you are a startup, this is the best time to be, and there is absolute no dearth of support system, right from the central government. 17 ministries of the central government have a startup program. Almost 20 plus states of the 29 states have a startup policy and a very well-defined startup support missions across the country. And thanks to the state startup ranking, every one of them are competing to significantly to up their game in the startup support ecosystem. So this is the best time to start. And of course, there is a number of almost last year alone, over 35,000 plus startups were registered, and its number is growing year on year. Is it all that great? Yes, definitely a lot of good things are happening. And as I wanted to share with you, we are at that juncture where we have built a very significant width in the startup ecosystem. The number of startups, of course, you can ask the 22 lakhs is a very small number for 1.5 billion, 4.5 billion people. So it's not really a large number. But just 10 years back, we were about 500 to odd startups, and today being 2 lakh startups is definitely a wonderful trajectory. And of course, we look at moving towards a 10 lakh number. But definitely the numbers is important, but it's also the quality of the startups what we are building and the quality of the companies that we are building are even more important than that, right? So for every startup that opens registers, there are also startups who are trying to find their feet, pivoting, repivoting, and after some time even probably wrapping up their operations for whatever reasons. So and I'm sure I'm very very confident because you are here celebrating your success. So obviously you are a different breed altogether. But having said that, what we are really now to look, what I'm wanting to share with you is that the fact that we need to build fundamentally strong companies that will change the strategic capability of the country, and that's what is very critical. So as a startup founder, as an entrepreneur, as a business person, you are a very significant building block in the nation building activity. It's not just a company that you are running. It's not just a problem that you are solving. It's not that it's just a economic activity, but the IP that you are creating, the employment that you are creating, the amount of value that you're generating in terms of direct and indirect value, all of this contributes to nation building. So you must be very, very proud and and take a lot of pride in saying that as an entrepreneur you are a nation builder, isn't it? I think that's something, and that is why it's very important that in the I was just talking to somebody in the 90s and 2000s. India was driven by the service economy, or what we call the middle class service, the software service economy, kind of really gave power to the middle class. And now it's changing, that now the entrepreneurs are now creating, as Sachin said, 0 to 100 is not a big deal with the kind of technology capability that is being there. So you can create very, very high powered scale, high tech companies, but the question is that they need to sustain, they need to create, be there for a long time to come. That's very, very important. So that's the first thought I would like to share, that fundamentally strong companies need to be built. It takes time to build that, and it is not just about building on an idea or a technology. It's also about building strong institutions that are built on value system. Then many years back I wrote an article. Not all founders are good CEOs. And we have seen a lot of that, right? So how do you transition from a founder to CEO really makes that impact on how are you going to transition your company from a founder driven to an organization, to a institution that eventually builds itself, right? I always, when I speak among students, I give this path. An idea becomes a concept becomes a team becomes a company becomes an organization, and after many, many decades, an organization becomes an institution. And the difference between organization and institution is, for organization you need people to run it. For institution, they run themselves. Institutions are, like Tatas and Birlas. They are institutions that eventually build themselves. You have to have a vision. So it often, very exciting when young founders come to me and tell, sir, in 3 years I'll give you exit. While it's great, but truth is, don't build to exit, right? Build to grow, build to sustain, and build to make it a large organization. You can go the IPO way, you can go the any way. That is not what you should be looking at, but build fundamentally strong companies. I think that's something which is the first thought. The second aspect that I would like to share, because you are celebrating your success, I'm sure you are all on a growth trajectory. And what is equally important when you are on a growth trajectory is the whole governance part, right? Every good startup and needs to, right from in the early stages, needs to focus on governance and of course financial discipline. Because if you don't have financial discipline and business and your control over your cash, your finance, you're not really going to grow. But equally important is the element of governance, which means, am I complying with the law of the land? And with the current kind of technologies that with AI and everything that's happening, it's so important to understand what is right and what is not right to do, right? So it's important as a startup, you need to have your governance structure, not just in your mind but spelled out for your organization, so that eventually you institutionalize that, and therefore your compliance and governance kind of becomes one of the founding layer, blocks of building a very strong company. Otherwise, I have actually seen and you have all seen, right? There was a taxi company, there was an edutech company, right? Billions of dollars got wiped away in thin air, right? I know you all know who I'm talking about, right? So if the governance structure is not in place, you could be a multi-billion dollar company, but can be wiped off very, very easily. And so that, and I always say, in future we are all good people, right? How many of us say from January 1st that I will do my exercise, I will go to the gym? Quite a few, right? So, and how many of you actually do? Very few, right? We, in future, from tomorrow I will do this, from day after tomorrow I'll do this. In future, we are all very good people. Unfortunately, when it comes to governance, it doesn't work like that. Today, with all the digital trail, the transactions and the conversation that happen, we have no place to hide, right? Everything that we do is leaves a digital trail behind, and somewhere the last thing you want is you want to go to IPO, or you have a fantastic global brand that wants to acquire you, and you didn't do something right in your early stages, comes back to haunt you and say, hey, you didn't do the right thing when you were in 4 years back, 5 years back. So it's very, very important. The reason I'm sharing this with you, you are all in this stage of, I am what I call shifting orbits. The fact that you have been going to be awarded today, you are celebrating your success, means you are on a growth trajectory. And when you shift orbits, when you move from one level of growth to another level of growth, it's extremely important to keep the fundamentals, especially in terms of governance, so that you have a very, very strong foundation, and in future nothing really comes back to haunt you, and ensure, and that is something that will really add value to you. On the contrary, when it comes to when it comes to any success in the future. So governance is something that I would urge you. I have a very, very sharp, like, laser focus on how you want to build your company, and that's something that I would really urge you to look at. That's the second thing. The third thing that I would like you to look at is about talent. I think one of the things that I've always looked at in companies, I said, not all founders are great CEOs, but it is also because of how do you want to manage talent, how do you want to institutionalize growth in your company, and how do you let go of control and nurture talent to kind of ensure that how you build your team. So founders essentially have only two jobs. One is to identify the right person and give them the right ownership of task, right? Rest everything, let the team do it, and nurture the team. So it's important. I've seen a lot of challenges I interact on a day-to-day basis. I interact with startups, and one of the biggest challenges that found letting go of control, which used to be a very uh, what you call a typical Indian family business challenge. So I used to teach family business transformation in ISB, and when you used to, one of the biggest challenge for family business growth is control, right? Because the kartas or the owners want to have control. So it's important for you to put systems and processes. It's important for you to institutionalize the entire decision making process, and ensure that you have a good you focus on the people, and you work with them to and deliver their roles and responsibilities. And if you are going to be a kind of a nurturer, automatically the organization is likely to grow beyond you. And that's what that's when you make a shift between company to the organization part, right? Because company is run by you, organization is run by people other than you, and by itself in a larger scale. So essentially these are the few things that I thought I will share. And last but not the least, it's important to take I was listening to one of the very interesting speeches yesterday, and it was very important that founders, we don't really address the most important part of the mental wellness of founders, right? Because being an entrepreneur, being a founder is a very, very lonely job, right? It is not easy. It's not something that sometimes your own family members understand. Of course, things have changed after Shark Tank. Now I'm being told that in shadi.com, if you are a startup founder, you get a better hit rate, right? But the truth is, that is one aspect. The truth is, the reality is, as a founder, you are your own companion, and you need to have a peer group. You need to have a very strong network of people to support you, which is very, very critical, and support each other. which is important for the mental wellness. So balance is very, very critical. Very less spoken about the mental wellness of founders. So yesterday, after listening to this conversation, I have been thinking at Meaty Startup Hub, how can we help, and how can use technology to support young founders. I mean, right from college kids who are now founders to mature founders. How can we use technology to kind of support them with mental wellness, taking a break, decision making support, when they are stressed out, how can we help them, is something that you may want to, we can have a conversation over a cup of coffee. And that's exactly something that I would like you also to watch out. It's a long term race. It's not a 100-meter dash. It's something that you're going to build for 5, 10, 15 years. And the most important part is, the company can fail, the founders should not. Right? I think that's the most important part. Your company fails, no problem, you can build another one. There are people who have failed almost 10, 15 times, and built phenomenal companies after that. So keep in mind, the company is okay for the company to fail, or the idea to fail, but the founder should not. Right? And that's when the real power of entrepreneurship can get unleashed. And it's extremely contagious for people around you to kind of catch on to that. And as a nation, we will move much, much better forward. And once again, all the very best, and wishing you all the success in future. And I'm sure congratulations to all the winners of the award today. And thank you, entrepreneur team, for having me here today. Wishing you all the very best. Thank you so much.